All right, so let's talk now about an effective program architecture and how we can help you ensure that yours is going to be extremely effective as well. So this may not be news to you, but self-paced micromods, foundational knowledge. We still see a lot of folks using Classroom for foundational knowledge. Performance support tools, absolutely critical. Tools checklist, introduce them early so that they'll use them later. Don't take them through the training and then at the end say, oh, by the way, we have all these tools on the internet, you should use them, they'll help you. They won't use them. Use those throughout training. Application, like I said, we have to apply this knowledge throughout. And the structured field experiences, I've talked about those. Make sure they're structured, make sure the impetus for learning is on the learner. And then the ongoing training, mentoring, coaching, that's where you're going to build expertise much, much faster. So self-paced, foundational, pre-work. Make sure again that you're using the classroom for application of knowledge with the impetus on the learner, the facilitators facilitating, not lecturing. The problem-based approach is a really good way to put the impetus on the learner. And the design you're going to see today, one thing that folks really like about it is it's extremely flexible. So some of the examples we'll show you today could be used if you're in an in-person class. It could be used virtually. You could even have some of it be self-paced, working in teams, etc. Again, utilize the tools throughout training to ensure that there's sustainability of those tools in the field, and then pull the learning through. A lot of times we see this segmentation. We learned some stuff here, now we're learning this. You have to apply it and pull it through. And then of course the application all the way along from pre-work into the field. So let's look at some examples here. Let's look at pre-work. And again, this is a very simple prototype we created, but even something like overcoming objections, you can introduce that early into the system. Here's just a quick example of how you can have folks apply and learn early on. So we're going to watch this video of an interaction between a physician and a sales rep. Then we're going to take a tool called the PACE tool, and we're going to evaluate that interaction. So it's problem-based, you're applying it, and whether or not you evaluate it correctly really isn't the point. The point is to get them to apply it. So we watch the video, and again, we don't have audio today, and you can watch it as many times as you want. You then bring the PACE tool up, and I'm going to evaluate them on this particular thing, right? So I say, I looked at it, I think, did they pay close attention? That's a 3. They did acknowledge. They didn't do a very good job of clarifying, but they did a really good job of engaging action for the next step. Now, remember we talked about collaboration and problem-based learning? You can do something simple like this. This is my evaluation as a new hire. I'm going to submit that and see what an expert has to say about it. And then what you can do, either through audio, video, whatever you want, is you can say, I wonder why the expert gave them a 4, not a 3, and it's going to tell me that. Why'd they give him a 1 here? It's critical that you clarify. I would suggest that he ask more relevant questions. So again, simple stuff, pre-work, application of knowledge. Let's look at interactive classroom. This again is one that you can utilize in a variety of ways. So this particular system that we put together here to practice selling with evidence, all of you have a lot of evidence that you want them to utilize, right? So this side of the house would be if it's medical devices, this side is pharma. Let's just take this one, for instance, the drug called Performax. What do? You review the customer scenario, you review the evidence toolkit, and we put some basic evidence in there, but we can show you how you can use your stuff as well. And then you're going to use your pre-call plan to overcome whatever the situation is with the customer scenario. In this case, you're meeting with a physician who uses Generex, not Performax, and she has misperceptions about the complexities of Performax. In particular, she thinks the titration is very cumbersome. So how would you leverage this evidence to work with this surgeon? And in addition, she's concerned with side effects. So we're going to bring up the evidence toolkit. And with the short time I have, I'll kind of shorten this up for you a little bit. But again, what were her major issues? titration and side effects. Well, let's look at titration. And again, these are simple examples, but you all have evidence, and this really helps them use it in this problem-based approach. We can actually see that the Generax is a much more complex titration schedule than Performax. She was also concerned, I think, with side effects, and we can bring that up. Generax actually has more severe and many more side effects. I can go in and look at the client profile and see kind of how am I going to approach her. So those of you that are doing, HCP segmentation or profiling, she's very deliberate, relies on facts. That's all going to be important. So what do? Bring up my pre-call planning form. And again, these are tools that you can use in training as well as throughout their tenure as a sales rep. So I looked at the evidence, each customer, I looked at the product. This is going to be an extended call because what we're going to do is we're going to have either this individual or this team report out in class, and then the remainder of the class will evaluate this. And the behavioral style, she's a controller, and then I can say, notes about her, she's worried about such and such, call objective. So this helps me organize my thoughts to then present back to the class, okay? Again, simple, but a really good way to use problem-based collaboration and ways of using evidence rather than say, read all this stuff and understand it. You're reading it in context and applying it. An example selling tool, and you may have seen this before. Again, introduce these early. It's called a conversation planning guide. And again, these are things that can be used in the field. This is a simple one. I'm going to talk to a physician today. I want to sell them Performax. They're currently using Generax. So I'm going to talk to them about rheumatoid arthritis. And based on that profile, it comes up and tells you, here's 3 questions you should ask that physician when you start to lead the discussion towards the features and benefits of our product. Then if I can provide you with a treatment that includes simple titration, minimal side effects, then I can make some claims. And by the way, I can go back to this evidence and bring it up again. So they're going to use it more than once. Meet the customer's needs, yes. Based on the fact you're selling Performax against Generax, these are the 4 most likely objections. I'm concerned with Performax side effects. Again, I'd be prepared to talk about actually Performax has significantly less. And again, I can bring that stuff up again and prepare prior to going in. Use these tools for scenarios in class, and then they'll use them later in the field. Structured field experience, we talked about this. This is a workbook that you can give them in the field. And this particular one is one that we used on the piece we did for the folks doing the heart catheterization. And you'll see that it's pretty simple. What we're doing is just, can you identify in the very simple one, can you identify the products that are being used? I want you to review how the physician is interacting with the clinical staff, how they interact with the CAS, and what the CAS's role is in preparing the patient. Very simple. Impetus on the learner. This was on a tablet. They can fill that in, then they can have a discussion later. Observation scoring tool. Again, we're big on tools to help them apply knowledge and use those tools later. If I was doing a ride along and I'm watching a more experienced rep, give them a tool rather than just looking and watching somebody and thinking, well, they seem to do a good job. I can have this on my tablet. And again, did they pause, acknowledge, clarify? I can score them. And this particular tool keeps score automatically. Then I can come up with some questions to ask that experienced rep at the end of my structured field experience. And then finally, once you're in the field, what are you going to do? We're going to use these tools that we taught them how to use, had them use them to apply knowledge all along the way. And I'm telling you, we have a track record and we've seen this work. Really, really good learning at first, lots of application. Make sure the pre-work is done prior to class and class is used for application. And then these tools utilized throughout.